Hi, Susan.
Hey, Brandy, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm glad I work from home on a day like today.
Is it raining?
So I'm glad I work from home on a day like today, so my car's not out.
Yeah.
And could be severe weather later.
Oh, okay.
We might have hail and tornadoes this afternoon.
Really?
Yeah.
I just saw rain.
There's a risk of worse, unfortunately. So stay weather aware, as they say.
Yeah.
Consistency is like 32 for me.
It's in my top 5.
Oh.
I think it's number 4 for me. Hi, Amy.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Yeah.
Good. I totally should have thought about you because I was trying to think of people that could tell me what books to recommend to the consistency folks, because I have consistency in my top 5. So I've always been so consistent that I've never had to read a book on it, And so I'm like, what books are out there that would help other people be more consistent? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to be thinking about it. I feel like I'm kind of in the same boat with you, as it's just kind of how I'm naturally wired. So
yeah. And I'm thinking, even have I read any books that, charge my consistency strength, right? They engage it. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't think of I could not think of a single one that I could relate back to my consistency strength,
Yeah. I'll be thinking about it. And if I think of any, I'll message you.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right. I have like a loading thing on my screen. It's like my Google stuff is not loading at the moment, guys. I'm sorry. We're just going to have to wait for it. Is that what you guys see too? Is something that says loading on my screen? Yeah.
That's what we got. Hi, Brandy.
Hi, how are you, Steve?
Oh, well, thank you.
Good. Did you have a good weekend?
Did, thanks. I was off last week. That's why I missed last week. So yeah.
Yeah, we're all coming back from spring break. That's right.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to the work world.
Thank you.
Let's see, while it's loading, let's just see who else we got to say hi to today. Looks like John's having trouble connecting to the audio as well. We have Kevin. Chad is trying to connect. We have Kelly again. Thanks for joining again, Kelly.
Chad, did you get your audio?
Good morning. It is my pleasure to be here, Brandy. Thanks so much for hosting us today.
Absolutely. Hopefully Google Chrome starts working here in a second.
And yes, Steve, my audio is working. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Chad. How are you?
All is well on my end. I hope the same for you.
It is good. Thank you.
Good.
So where does consistency lie on everybody's profile? Is it high, is it medium, or is it low for you guys?
Medium.
Medium for you?
Medium low.
Yeah, medium low. Yeah.
Actually, one of my top 5.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's one of my top 5 as well, Kelly.
Oh, good.
Yep. So we got 3 of us on the call that can.
It's my number 2.
Where would you put 32 at? What would that be for you?
super low.
Number 2 is S Pentecost. My name is Stacy.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was like, all I see is spent on the Zoom. You guys, I'm sorry this isn't loading. I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll just come over here and try another tab in another area. Let's just see if this will work. Let's see, don't know how to use this one yet. Let's go here.
And just sorry, hey Stacy, great to see you on the call.
Hi, Chad. I've been here before. I just I don't talk much.
I've seen you before.
Okay.
But I'm glad to see that this is in your top and to see you on the call. It makes me happy.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll join from my phone since this is not working for us today. Insights. Interesting. Does anyone have the meeting link? Just the meeting ID? Let's see if we can see it on here. Let me stop the share. Let's see.
Brandy, I do. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
753-7489-6184.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me know if you need the passcode.
Okay, it doesn't look like I'm going to need that. Reclaim host. Got it.
At least this is one, I think this is a recurring meeting. So I am referencing an older email post that you sent out with the information, but I think you have it set up as a recurring meeting that the information is the same each week. If not, that might be the wrong meeting ID.
And I did put a link to the link, the way I joined, I put it in the chat from the LinkedIn link.
I could forward an email to you as well, Brandy, if that helps you.
Okay, sorry. It doesn't let me switch the mute button off while I have the screen shared. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now let me share my screen. Let's see here. Start broadcast. All right, can you see me all on my phone? Moving around?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's see if I can do another view or if we're just going to do it like this. All right, let's do it like this, okay? I don't know what the video is looking like. Let's see.
I'm viewing it on my computer with a monitor, and it's very clear. I'm seeing one slide. It's definitely filling the screen, and
okay.
on the side you have the participant list, which I think I could switch
and
basically in my view. But it's coming.
Yeah, this is okay. Yep, this is good because I can see my video on my laptop, and then I'm not doing two of my faces, so I think we're good to go. Thank you so much. All right, so let's talk about consistency. It is found 12% of the time in a person's top 5 strengths, which is leaning on the rare side. This is not a very typical strength that I work with across my clients either. I only have a few of them. And out of all of the 4 leadership domains, this one does fall into the executing domain. And it's because it is execution oriented. It is very organized, and it's all about, it cares about how the work is being done and who is doing the work. When we look at all of those strength zones, it actually falls into the organized strength zone. Very, very organized individuals when you work with them. And here are some of their traits. They like to know what to expect. They like to know what's coming and what to predict. They're not one of those strengths that enjoys surprises. They're very organized, and they also have a personality trait around rules and putting rules in place and putting policies in place and putting compliance in place and just having those expectations set very clearly. And then they really appreciate everybody being able to have a fair shot at being successful because the rules are fair. So you're going to hear the word fair a lot today. You're going to hear the word balance a lot today. They really, want everyone to have equal opportunity. And so they have an eye for this. They can see when people are not being treated fairly or equally, and they want to resolve that. And what's interesting is, like the other strengths, we cannot judge a person based solely on this strength, because sometimes they'll have other strengths above this one that mean that they are more, they're risky and they're breaking rules and they're doing, interesting things. So it really just depends how high this is as to how much it actually plays, comes into play for that personality. So I have found a couple of intensifications with consistency. When you're pairing it up with something like achiever or competition or responsibility, which are already very intense strengths, when somebody also has consistency and they're doing those intense things consistently, it makes that person extremely intense on those things. And consistency could even be seen as, an intensifier on all strengths, but it's not. It just means that you're going to do that thing consistently. But if it's not an intense strength, then it doesn't really intensify it because it's not intense. But it does intensify the intense strengths, if that makes sense. So I've listed a couple of them for you here. And then when it's paired with belief, it becomes very heightened, because belief believes on helping the underprivileged, where consistency believes in serving the disadvantaged. And so then when you put someone that has both of those strengths together in one bucket, they become very, very intense, very diligent towards those causes. Does anybody have belief in consistency on the call?
Yes, me.
Hi.
Hello.
Do you believe that that's a truth for you, John?
Absolutely. Yeah. I am more in those. The belief is very high in I can't remember how high it is off the top of my head, but it's very high on me. I sadly work more from the heart than I do from the brain sometimes.
Well, the good news is both of those are execution oriented. So you are doing a lot of work. And, it just means that you're out there serving the community and really trying to help people that don't have that fair, equal opportunity, which is wonderful, because we need people like you out there. Also, if consistency is paired with developer, you're going to get sort of the same thing, because consistency likes to help the disadvantaged reach their full potential, and developers like to nurture, grow, and develop people. I myself have this discipline consistency. So I can tell you from my personal vantage point that I am extremely consistently disciplined, and I'm very disciplined about my consistency, which means I'm extremely organized, very structured, love processes, love systems. So definitely that's an intensifier. You're going to get the same effect when you have focus. Sorry, focus, it should say consistency and focus there, because focus is very efficient and likes to streamline and set up processes. And then harmony enjoys this practical down-to-earth topics, and consistency is also very naturally a practical strength. So when someone has both of those two strengths together, they're extremely down-to-earth and extremely practical.
That's me.
And if you have learner, you love to continuously improve. Consistency cares about how things are getting done. So you're probably going to get a pretty mega process improvement person when you have learner and consistency in your top 5, which is that's one of my combinations as well. I also have learner along with consistency, and I love process improvement. So I think that is true. Any other thoughts about the combinations that you guys have experienced that you would like to share? You'll see that consistency and harmony are paired together almost 60% of the time. That's one of the highest ratios we've ever seen. So if someone's consistent, they're probably also very highly likely harmonic as well. I have harmony in my top 10. What about you, Amy? Do you have harmony in your top 10 as well, since consistency is so high for you?
Yeah, harmony is my number 3.
Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. What we will never see consistency paired with, or at least very, very rarely, would be consistency and command. And I have a feeling I have never seen anybody like that. I'll have to go look. And then consistency and self-assurance. You would only see those two paired together in a person's top 5 strengths 1% of the time. So as you can imagine, those would also be considered disruptors for consistency. So a disruptor to consistency, remember, it doesn't mean these two people won't get along. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that they may have some friction, some healthy friction, and maybe some understanding that they have to have, and they might have to accommodate one another to work well together. So consistency is very balanced and very structured, where a high adaptability is very flexible. I don't know, is Ernie on the call today? No, he has both a high adaptability and high consistency. So I have spent some time talking to him about what that looks like when he is consistent, when he is flexible and adaptable, because it's kind of interesting to have both, right? At some moments you're structured, and at some moments you're extremely flexible, or maybe you're setting up a flexible structure, for example. Arrangers are also extremely flexibly organized. So you would think arrangers and consistency jive because they're both organized, but arrangers are so flexible and they love to move around so much that the more structured, fixed consistency person struggles with that a little bit. Command is highly extroverted. They do not mind conflict. And they're not afraid to break the rules, where consistency appreciates and abides by rules. They have a sincere appreciation for rules. And also command is opposite harmony. So if consistency is paired with harmony frequently, and you're getting this harmonic, peaceful way of conducting yourself along with the consistency, then, and command values confrontation, then, of course, those two are going to be fairly opposite. Ideation are all over the map. They're abstract. They're bouncing around, brainstorming. Consistency hates brainstorming processes. They love, just very logical, tactical things to do. Self-assurance is very confident. They don't really care about, what other people's opinions are regarding their own path and personal direction, where and that allows them to be very creative in their thinking, where again, consistency are very logical and linear. Consistency does get along with anybody high execution, achievers, focus, responsibility, because they really, really value the people that are actually doing the work, that are actually doing the execution. They get along great with other consistency people. And we've kind of covered that already. Okay. If you want to get under a consistency person's skin, you're going to come at things very disorganized. You're going to make things unfair for people. There'll be a lack of balance, a lack of equality. You're going to make them brainstorm and do abstract exercises. These are the types of areas where consistency is just not going to be at their best. Where they are going to be at their best is when they get to organize. You ask them to bring organization, to bring consistency, to bring balance to a situation, to make sure that everybody is abiding by the same sets of rules so that it's fair for everyone. They're going to be much better on those tactical tasks that are very tangible. And so obviously what they're going to want to hear is that they are, really consistent. They are balanced. They are organized. They're very fair, and they give everyone equal opportunity to participate or to succeed. They also like being called rational. Of course, they don't want to hear that they're irrational or inflexible or boring or too structured. These are the things where they're like, okay, I have these lovely strengths and I'm using this muscle, I'm flexing it, but it's not very welcome here, or it's just not doing anybody any bit of good in this environment. One of the things that we get a lot is that we care too much about how things are being done. It is just very natural for us to focus on that, to make sure things are done in a way that's efficient, that's organized, and it also doesn't hurt anybody. And so sometimes, like if we're working with an activator, for example, they just want to go and they kind of have a messy process. They don't really care about how things are being done or the impact. They just want to get it going so that they can learn from, whether that was the right action or not, which could conflict with somebody like consistency, who really wants to make sure that things are being done in a certain way or a certain method. They love being acknowledged for the fact that they are fair, that they are organized, that they have a lot of balance in their own personal life and bring balance to other people's lives, that they do give the disadvantaged, that fair, equal opportunity. They love, the fact that they can help people just, come back down to earth. They can be practical. They can talk about the rationale behind what's going on and behind people's decisions and just calm people down. When they communicate, they might bring up things like who they think is being treated unfairly, or any biases that they're seeing, or imbalances that they are seeing. They're always going to be recognizing the people that do the work for the work they do. They love giving people credit for their contributions. They might want to discuss the rules or the standards behind whatever it is that we're discussing. They're probably going to speak to you in a way that they speak to the person next to you, and then the person next to that. They just have a very consistent way of behaving. And so when you're talking with them, they're just going to want a similar thing in return. Mainly what I think consistency people thrive on in communication patterns as well is just getting the same communication from you. So you don't have to be, you don't have to communicate like them, but every time they talk to you, they're going to want to make sure they have the same person in front of them. They need you to be authentic and communicate in a repetitive type way so that they're not thrown off of like, okay, this isn't how you talked to me last time. I don't know how to deal with this because I thought you were this kind of person and I thought you were like this, and this is how you did it. Now you're doing it differently. So I think what they appreciate most is just consistency. Here are some engaging questions that you can ask them. If you're talking to them about a particular topic, you can say, hey, what's fair? What's logical? What do you think? How do you think we should organize it? How do we make this process more uniform for everyone so everyone can use it? Are we treating anybody unfairly? So if you're selling and influencing as consistency, you're going to want to lay out those fair processes to everyone and show them that you are being fair with pricing and you're being fair with the offering, and helping your clients see how the products or services are going to help their diversity and inclusion efforts, or maybe their process improvement type areas. That could be something that you point out. You could help them show the organization how it's going to help them be more organized, or even have like centralized information in a database, which increases organization. And I also think you guys have a very great tool to just help explain to the client the rationale behind buying a product or service. Giving them the why will really help them buy into why they think they should buy it. Okay, so if you are trying to sell something or influence a consistency person, again, just being consistent is really going to help. Having balance in the conversation is going to help. If someone's going clear off on the deep end about something, it really rubs the consistency person wrong. They think, you're unstable. So you have to be like, tone it down a little bit so that I know there is stability here. There is balance. Yeah, they're definitely going to want to be treated fairly as another potential client that you have. They're not going to want to hear that you're doing deals for, special deals or special stuff for someone. Now, if you're like Steve, who's got individualization, he is far more interested in that customization or individualization. Individualization and consistency are opposites in that sense. Individualization is more than happy to apply an individualized approach, where consistency really appreciates a consistent approach.
I actually have both of those in my top 5.
Interesting. Tell us about that. When do you apply consistency and when do you apply individualization?
I really just feel like I try to take everything into consideration in looking at anything. I'm a very consistency is my number 2. So that's
okay.
And then individualization is 4. 1 is deliberative. So I'm always just thinking about everything. And
Stacey does think things through.
Yeah. I like to think about how everything affects everyone. The whole fair thing is interesting. I hadn't thought about it being a fair type of thing. I just think of how is this affecting everyone kind of thing.
Yes. And I think it's because you have individualization, because individualization thinks treating everybody differently. And, how is it impacting each person on a personal level? That's fair, right? Where consistency thinks applying a process to everyone or standards across, the whole gamut is fair. So the fact that you have both might mean that, there is an element of fairness in both depending on the situation,
Right.
So that's good. That means you're balanced on this area instead of leaning too far in one way or the other way on customization or systemize, when you're systemizing things.
And empathy is right in the middle of those. So,
wow, Mama.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, you have a lot of intuition, but you also have a lot of logic with deliberative and consistency. And then what's your 5th one?
Responsibility.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yep. So very, very responsible, really care how people are impacted, really care about making sure everyone has what they need to succeed. Because responsibility is serving people. Individualization is caring about each individual. Consistency is caring about, you're just a care bear. That's what you are, because consistency cares about the disadvantaged, and deliberative just really cares about being deliberate, So yeah, you've got a new name, Stacey. You're just Stacey the Care Bear.
That's hilarious, because with deliberative as number 1, I am not seen that way.
Yeah, no, deliberative actually can really care about people. You know, they can say, I want to be very deliberate with my actions, very deliberate with my communication, very deliberate with my gifts. You know, they are very, you know, when they do something, they really mean it.
That's very true. They just don't like to do it unless it makes sense.
Absolutely, because they don't want to be seen as like making a decision that's not right, or that isn't the best decision, or isn't the most sound, right? So it's like, I'm not doing it unless it's absolutely for sure the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah. And then your responsibility means you're super ethical too. So you're like, I'm really not doing it unless it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah. So here are just some interview tips of things that you can do if you are in the interviewing phase of your journey. So, you know, I was thinking about, as I was writing these bullets up this week, you know, these are some tips for the consistency person, but that doesn't mean you have to use every bullet. You just take the 2 or 3 that you really like from this slide. And then, you know, like in Stacy's case, she would take two from the deliberative slide and 2 from her individualization slide. It's not like you have to do all of these things in the interview. They're just giving you some recommendations of things you can do that work well for you in the interview. Oops, I forgot I'm using this one. All right. So if we're trying to understand if we're dealing with a consistency person, we don't actually have their strengths in front of us, but we've just met this person for this first time, we might, you know, detect that they are consistent because they are rational and logical, and they seem to care about fairness or treating everyone the same, or they might be very habitual in their practices. Like, for example, when my dad comes to Dallas, I'll tell him, you know, meet me at the gym when I'm done and we can go to lunch. And he'll be like, I know exactly where to meet you, exactly which parking space on exactly what side of the building, because you parked the same place for the last 5 years. We just have very consistent habits. Okay. And then these are some words down here on the bottom that they may say in conversation. These are the words they're also going to like to hear when you're speaking to them. They like hearing things around even and balance and uniform and consistent, and, you know, habits and tangible tasks and rules and policies and systems and procedures. Like, these things just they just automatically turn the brain on and engage the brain. All right, we're going to go through these. You know, may be inflexible at times. Take other people's need for flexibility and spontaneity into consideration. That's really important if we are very structured, like myself, who's consistently disciplined. You may find it difficult to personalize interactions to suit the needs of others, unless you're Stacy, who also has individualization. Consider how you will leverage your other strengths to navigate this. You may overemphasize how something gets done at times, right? So, you know, there's certain times when focusing on how someone is doing it is actually detrimental to that relationship. So we need to focus on the results as well as the process. You may find abstract tasks like brainstorming and long-range planning unenjoyable. So it's important to pair up with some other people and get their help so that they can get you through that if you ever have to do it. Because you like knowing what to expect and life is naturally unpredictable, we need to consider turning those unexpected moments that come across into an opportunity. And that way we're making the best of that. Some people think that treating each person differently is fair, so we need to try to understand, honor, and respect this perspective, even if we don't have it. And we need to consider what could be a more effective approach. At what times this could be a more effective approach. You know, if we learn to individualize once in a while, we'll start to appreciate the results of that. Consider when asking everyone to follow the same set of rules is actually detrimental to performance or results. We don't want to impose something that's actually not going to work. We may alienate people who are not wired to execute and do the heavy lifting. So we need to learn about other strengths, like influential strengths and strategic strengths, and learn to appreciate the thought and the influence that those strengths bring, even if they're not doing the work we're executing. And of course, we cannot expect other people to be as consistent as us. So we need to refrain from imposing balance and consistency in organization where it's not wanted. We need to think about when it's absolutely necessary to break a rule. This is something that, gosh, it was so interesting for me to realize that if I was held at gunpoint and someone asked me a question about where my parents lived, it's okay to lie in that moment. That there are times when breaking the rules or lying, is okay. And it was like, oh, okay, so maybe I need to not be so rule driven, so structured sometimes there, and so framing that and thinking about those moments has really helped me be more flexible, actually. When choosing a life partner, if you do have consistency, you need to make sure you're not necessarily choosing someone because they're at a disadvantage and you hope to help them become, help lift them up. That might not be the most effective partner for you, because partners should be very, they should bring something very equal to the table.
I will say on that front though, my wife is if she would take this, I would say consistency would be her number one, or at least in her top 5.
Yeah.
And she and I would say she loves lists. She loves consistency. She and I are completely opposite, and we really do function well together. And I and a lot of people do too, find that odd that we do kind of yin and yang together. And she's been a good balance for me over the years.
Yeah, you said it's 32 for you. Is that right, John?
Well, it's actually consistency is number 15 for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But doing lists, and it has been a very, and being, it's a struggle for me. It is a struggle.
Yeah, lists actually usually come from having the achiever strengths.
Okay.
But if she has consistency high, she's very organized as well.
Oh, it's sick. It's sickening.
Yeah. But I'm glad that you appreciate the balance she brings to your life. I think that is the essence of StrengthsFinder, right? Is that when you can appreciate what someone is actually bringing to your life that you don't necessarily have, then they're adding to it rather than taking away from it. And even though you're different, you can really respect and appreciate what they're bringing to the table.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Amen.
Let's see. I wrote here, quickly notice when it's not and to partner with someone strategic or influence to get that done. Take notice of when our structure or inflexibility is limiting us. We want to gauge the appetite for hearing, someone hearing our rationale before we give it, because if they don't want to hear it, then that's not necessarily a good time to use our consistency strength. We are very naturally logical, practical, so we do have to be very aware of people's feelings, unless you have something like Stacy does, where she has that lovely empathy in the top set of her strengths that helps her understand how people are feeling as well. But if we don't have that, like for me, I have very low empathy. I can be extremely logical. That doesn't necessarily sit well with people who, all people have feelings. So it's like, Brandy, you have to consider their feelings. Sometimes people want you to take their side instead of providing all that rationale. So sometimes we just have to listen and empathize and say, oh yeah, that just really sucks. Consider when our unbiased approach prevents us from making healthy decisions for ourselves. I think sometimes people can just be really unbiased, and they're not necessarily saying, yes, I can see all perspectives and all sides of things, but this isn't good for me. And for me personally, this is what I need. Because we don't personalize things a lot or customize things a lot, that could be an issue. And then instead of getting upset when other people are unintentionally being hurt, we need to realize it is unintentional and find ways to help people understand that maybe they don't realize they're hurting somebody or treating someone poorly or treating them unfairly or unequally. Okay. Collaboration. So to effectively partner as a consistency person, these are some things we can bring to the team, like balance and organization, and help things be laid out clearly. We bring logic to the team and rationale to the team. We can help the team set up rule functions. And rules are, I've always thought rules are interesting because for me, I was a mathematician. I always set up rules through math and through systems. I never liked compliance or policies or standards, that kind of rule setting. That wasn't fun for me. But to centralize and standardize a process was very fun for me. So again, this is just another reminder that we can't read a strength and think we know somebody. We have to ask them how it applies to them individually to really understand, you know, how the consistency is playing out for them and their other strengths. If you guys are working with a consistency person, it's important for you to be as fair as possible, to lay out all the expectations, to sit in a more logical, practical zone when you're talking to them so that they can relate to you as they're talking through things. They're going to want a lot of balance in their life. And if they don't get that, like, so for example, if they're sitting on a call center or like a tax season, right, where, you know, you have this huge fluctuation of taxes and then you have nothing for the rest of the year. That doesn't feel like balance to them. They're not going to gravitate towards those types of roles or professions. Okay. I've listed off some strength partnerships. I'm going to let you guys look at those on the slides afterward. Okay. So if you are a consistent person, there's a lot you can bring to the relationship with your consistency, which does include balance and integrity and making people feel very respected and considered. And then, you know, I think the thing here is always in relationships to balance that practical, logical, down to earth point of view with how someone is feeling, because that can get a little tricky sometimes for the consistent person. And then also we really have to understand other people's needs for flexibility and spontaneity and, you know, unconventionalism. These are things that are not in our repertoire or vocabulary. So we do have to make sure that we understand that other people might need some time to, you know, even if we have to plan it, right? We plan a weekend where we just get to be spontaneous. That needs to be considered. Okay. And when your partner does have consistency, you know, they're really going to appreciate it when you care about the disadvantage as well, or at least help them or join into what they care about from that regard. They really appreciate when you respect their boundaries, which also means learning their boundaries and then respecting them. Because of course I love it when people respect the rules. And then they really value it when you are, putting a lot of execution or energy into things, because again, they value people that do the work and they love to give people credit for doing the work. And so they want to feel like you're doing an equal amount of work to them or more, and that will make them feel really good. They believe in really high integrity. So it is very important with these people to, if you make a commitment to them, you deliver on that promise to them. All right. If you are a parent with consistency, you're going to be the one helping to instill those values and the balance in the household. You're going to really be working at, you know, making sure your children are conscientious and respect the fact that not everybody has that equal opportunity to, you know, have the privileges of where they are. I remember one time when I was in a foreign country. I was south of here. I was somewhere in Central America. I think it was Colombia. And I just remember seeing this wonderful lady. She was on the streets. You know, she had dirty clothes. You could tell she'd had some children. She had missing teeth. Her hair was all scraggled and cut, and she was so dirty. And she was messing with the tourists. You know, she had spunk to her. She was self-entertaining herself, and if you looked at her face, she was beautiful. She was a beautiful woman. And I thought, man, in another world, she'd be a top model that had all this charisma on TV, you know, in a world where she was born with privilege, and a world where she was born with finances, and a world where she was, you know, taught how to conduct a life where she could be successful. you know, I think about that a lot as a consistency person, about how it's just so freaking unfair for, you know, not everyone to have the same opportunities and the same education and the same support and, you know, that type of stuff. So I just wanted to give you guys that example because I think that's, you know, helping you understand how consistency people think. This slide I think is important. If you are parenting a consistency person, they're going to need a lot of structure. They're going to need a lot of consistency. They're going to need to know what to expect to feel very calm and balanced inside and secure. They are going to want to talk about things very rationally and logically. They will, you know, as those young children, they're going to care about how things are getting done. So they're going to be like, Mom, you know, Eddie over here isn't doing it this way, because they care about how things are getting done. Okay. Oh, I have more. I think also just, you know, getting them involved in areas where they get to apply organization and, you know, set systems up and they get to use that strength is really going to be helpful to them. Okay, so if you're a leader, you can really do a great job of giving people credit where it's due, you know, letting the team know what to expect, helping them get organized, helping them understand, you know, different ways things can be done that might be more effective or more efficient, but then also not being too strict on that, being lenient around, you know, if someone's getting the job done and it's not exactly the way we were wanting it to, but it's still getting it done, then that needs to be okay, because you don't want to be micromanaging as a consistency leader. Obviously, we want to give everyone equal opportunity to succeed. And, you know, as a consistency leader, we are going to be applying everything fairly and treating everyone equally and fairly. But we do need to recognize as a leader, consistency leader, when we need to individualize and customize things to make it work for people as well. Okay. If you're managing a consistency person, you want to get them involved on rule-based projects, you know, organizational type work, anything tangible, very tactical, tangible. Maybe uniformity needs to be applied. You know, for example, all these PowerPoints need to look a certain way. They love applying uniformity to things. You'll want to be very consistent in your management style with them so they know what to expect. And they're really going to want balanced work days. If you are a coach and you're coaching a consistency person, you're going to want to do that in a consistent way, of course. And you want to make sure they understand that everything is, you know, they're being treated fairly, and they get equal opportunity to be successful with you that other people do. And then, of course, just getting them introduced to things that will make them successful, you know, areas of work where they can use all of the skills that we've talked about today, and making sure that they're not letting their structure or fixed way of working getting in the way, but you want to help them leverage their structure to achieve the things that they want to achieve. It's very interesting working with a consistency person because they are going to get things done, but they're going to get things done through a series of days. They're going to balance their days, and they're basically going to chip away at that iceberg a little bit every single day. So you can't expect them to just go get something done like an achiever, but rather know that they're going to get it done over the course of time, but they're going to balance that out among the other things that they're doing. And then, like for myself, I do have consistency and I am a coach. So there's some things that I can do towards my clients that makes me a successful coach for them. One of them being just really helping them understand rationale behind their own decision-making and their own challenges and their own actions. That has come in really handy as a coach. I'm also all about how to get them all the tools they need, you know, all the information they need. Sorry, guys, just a sec. Technology. Okay, we're back. And we're scrolled. Okay. Here's some daily actions. All right, good. There we go. Daily actions. Okay. So anybody on the call that has consistency, have any of you read any good books on balance or helping other people have balance in their life? Or any great books on systems and structures, or things that you think like really hit your consistency strength? Because I could not think of a single book to recommend today to people on the call regarding consistency, the consistency strength. Does anybody have any recommendations I could put in these slides? Or maybe you're not a consistency person and you read a good book that helped you have more structure and consistency or organization in your life. None of us are reading organization books?
No, but I'd love to hear one about one immediately.
Yeah, I need to figure some out. There's got to be some good ones out there.
There has to be.
All right, you guys let me know, because that's a gap I had today in this presentation. I wrote some careers down that I have, as I've worked with consistency people, I've seen them do, and let me know if you think something should go on this list as well. Any thoughts or questions for the consistency people on the call? Anything you guys want to ask me? Was this helpful today?
It was helpful for me. I really appreciated it. Just some more insight, since it is one of my top 5s.
Yeah, on how you can use it and how you can leverage it.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to be definitely going back for the interview pointers.
Yeah, I'm going to post these out on LinkedIn. So I'll try to remember to tag you on it so it can just go right to your notifications.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And, you guys can see now why I, contribute 10% of my business funds to Operation Underground Railroad, because when you have consistency as a top 5 strength, you feel very compelled to helping people that are at a complete disadvantage, which of course human trafficked individuals are. And so it's just a, it pulls at my heart and makes me want to make a lot of money to be able to help this organization. And here's my info for those of you who want to take a screenshot of that or need it. You guys can reach out to me anytime through phone, email. What else can I answer for you or do for you all today?
Keep doing what you're doing, Brandy. Love this, and
Yeah.
glad to see a lot of members from the team joining here. So that's amazing. Thank you.
And if I'm missing something on these slides, let me know. I'm happy to add something. You're welcome, Susan. Thank you for joining today. And if you guys have, any questions for me at all about any one of these strengths, especially if you have someone in your life where you're interacting with them quite frequently, I'm very happy to answer questions or just talk to you about what that might be like for you and for them, and how to make those interactions better. That's really, to me, the heart of StrengthsFinder, is being able to collaborate and interact with people more sophisticatedly. Anything else?
I'm going to throw something out here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Susan.
Okay,
yep.
Cool. How does this, or does it, family dynamics are so bizarre. how do you use your, I mean, I hope there's a general answer. Because I know we don't have time and whatever. You are who you are, but you get thrown into family situations that sometimes pull you in directions where you're not comfortable being the person you have to be to answer or to deal with something. And you don't know who you're dealing with because you don't know their strengths. I thought of this before, but I don't think I've ever actually asked it. It's just uncomfortable when you have to be more, when you have to be firm, or you have to be just things you ordinarily wouldn't be until you're just pressed into or pushed into that spot. I mean, are you still?
Yeah, I think when I feel those things,
yeah,
I get my brother involved because he deals with things a lot differently, and he deals with the uncomfortable things for me. He knows how to navigate, negotiate. He knows how to be candid with people. He knows how to manhandle people. Like, he's just very strong in those ways. So if I'm feeling like it's very difficult, then I basically partner with somebody who can help me deal with those things. Like some of the things we talked about in your family situation, it could be getting, some external caretaker involved, because it shouldn't be put all on you to be everything. You can only do what you can do, and you can only bring your strengths to the table. And if your strengths aren't working, then you should probably get some help, really. Yeah. And it's your individualization that's going off, how do I accommodate or deal with this person or change my behavior? But again, you want to individualize so much, but you don't want to individualize to the point where you're actually changing yourself. That's not necessarily a healthy thing to do, right?
Yes. And that's what sometimes I wonder. It's like, you think at this moment, I would probably walk away if it wasn't this person. Because it's just, it's the repetition of the same old thing. And some things are private, so I can't go to somebody outside. But, it's just the other side is very, it's like a stubborn child, I guess. They want what they want. And sometimes they're like, okay, fine. And then the next time it's like, nope, I'm in the mood to just be stubborn. So, but it's, and I've learned to not be able to walk away and to be able to not understand that this is going to come again. And even, the possibility is always there for that kind of disposition one day to be like just ornery, but it's just taxing to have to go through. And I'm like, how many times? But anyway, like, I think you made the great point that I needed to hear. You don't want to not be you and feel like your strengths are, you're changing yourself.
Yeah. Yep. And it's always good to get some help to leverage their strength to navigate those tough situations. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions today? All right. Thank you all so much for joining. Next week will be developer.
Ooh. Are you in a restaurant? Are you going to order soon?
That's a shoji. You know what a shoji is?
Isn't it a Japanese screen or something?
It's a Japanese screen. That's right, Susan.
I'm still hungry.
I caught too many times on these camera calls without the blur working in the background, and everyone can see my dresser. So I'm like, this shoji.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's pretty. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, everybody, I got to get going. I have a hard stop today at 12. So lovely talking to you all. Thank you for joining. Reach out to me anytime, and we'll see you next week for developer.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.
Bye all, and thanks, Brandy.
Bye, Chad. Welcome, sir.